All right, welcome back to the Since I Was Broke podcast. Today we've got David and Jay back here in the cut. We're missing Phil. I think he's running around doing some stuff, but Jay and David officially on the team. Things moved pretty rapidly since our last podcast, which is exciting. And we're here now, and we're trying to hit the ground running. So this is going to be kind of like an open planning session for what we have in store, and we just figured, why not document it? I think that's something that, as the team grows. Previously for me, I was just feeling stretched really thin because I was wearing a lot of hats, so it's hard to just manage. I mean, as we all know, it's pretty tough to be consistent on social media just for one page. So when you're trying to manage multiple pages and there's different businesses and different needs and different types of businesses, can be pretty challenging. So I'm excited to have you guys here, and I think there's a lot of really cool stuff that we're going to be able to develop. And me and you were talking last night, David, for a minute. But it's just like we're in such a cool opportunity. I mean, just this, from the space that we're in, from the moment in time that we're in, it's in some ways it's like confusing me. Like, damn, why don't we have more traction already? But I feel like I think about that because I feel like I'm constantly doing stuff here, and then I'm like, we're just not publishing enough.
Mm-hmm.
So we do a good job of a lot of times documenting.
Yeah.
But it's just documenting like one angle. And that was something that Phil and I are constantly talking about. It's like, man, we wish we just had people fly on the wall capturing the conversations that just happen sporadically. Like even the one we had last night, it's just like, that's the stuff that I think is really impactful. I was thinking about this even like when I'm making music or creating anything. It's like, it scratches my personal itch for like wanting to express myself, but it's never from a place of like, oh man, this is only valid if lots of people see it. I mean, it's great if like something explodes and does really well. I mean, what better feeling as an artist than for people to recognize your work? Mm-hmm. But I think it's like just one person recognizing it, or it just being able to connect with one person is what I'm always going for. So it's like, even with what we're doing right now, it's like today I was just talking about how success is a really lonely road. Like we were talking about that last night. It's like, it's so easy to think you're the weird one for wanting more for yourself, because if you're surrounded by people that don't really share that sentiment, you can feel like the outcast when in your heart you're trying to better yourself and do more and push yourself. And so it can be super lonely when you're trying to do more, and other people around you are not necessarily unsupportive, but they just can't. They don't know how to be supportive because they can't understand why you want that thing.
They just don't grasp what you're trying to do.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it almost makes you feel like, like you're a problem. It's
especially when you're new to it. And I was just trying to put myself back in the shoes of being more around your guys' age. It's like, that's that age where people are kind of free for the first time. At least they feel free in terms of not having to report to anyone, not having like a super intense school schedule perhaps or something else. And it's just like, I remember being that age and being like, am I just like, I remember people kind of like shaming me a little bit for being super ambitious and intense. And, when you are going through that and there's no evidence that you are right, except that feeling in your gut, it's super lonely. Because you're seeing everyone else that appears to be happy, enjoying what they're doing, and you're like, man, am I just the wrong one here? Am I just like crazy for wanting this? So, I mean, I think that it's like, that's the opportunity we have here. And we were just talking about like how we tell the story of Since I Was Broke. And I think it's just around that. Cause like I was telling David first and Jay, like I was not in the best place, like a handful of months ago. Even just like when we first met in the whole past 2 years, it's like, I was like the past few, maybe like week or so, it's like I just came out of this fog where I'm like, really feel like I'm past a lot of the shit that happened to me, almost like 2 years ago. And I'm like, I feel like myself again. Like this Matt Hubble that you guys are seeing is like posting and talking this way and like has that energy. Like that's life. that's like how I was for like a decade until like the last, until like I had a lot of shit happen, and it kind of like made me question who I was. So it's, if it weren't for being in this environment, around people like Phil, especially giving me the opportunity to kind of come and join the team. And if it wasn't for all the other people that make this, building a home, I don't know like what would happen, or I don't know
Yeah.
where I'd be, So it's just like, I think the story that we're trying to tell here is like, get better. Like, this is a place you come to incubate talent and get better and like just improve yourself. And when you're in a place like this, it's like today you jumped in the workout. It's like it's hard not to want to when you're like, damn.
Yeah, look, you want
like they're getting it. You know what I mean? Like,
I won't be left out.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's crazy how like on a day to day, especially when it was just like me, Phil, and Tim in here, or at one point literally just me and Phil in here. It's like it wasn't like the same intensity. Like, we kind of had to acclimate to this lifestyle where like now it's like it feels so normal. Like, I'm just like, nothing can compromise me wanting to continue optimizing my performance, whether it's like work, my art, my relationships, because I'm just like, I've already done so much of the work. And Brooks was saying this to me this morning too. He's like, dude, you're so structured right now. Like, you're training so intense and like on point. He's like, the nutrition's like the final straw. So for me, I've talked a lot about like, oh, I don't want to compete again. And now I'm like, no, I need to do, like, I had this moment yesterday where I was like, we were talking about something and Brooks said something and I was like, man, he was like, yeah, just a few months and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, damn it, a few months, I'm going to be turning 30. It's like, so I'm like,
is that why you want to do summer shredding?
Yeah, well, it just so happened. I was just curious because I've been wanting to like take Phil down there and like go, just have him see that place and like what they do down there, because I feel like it's so aspirational and I feel like we could do something like that here over time and build that kind of community. And I was like, well, what better reason to go down there than to like just compete? And what better way to just like
take home a trophy?
Maybe. I mean, I think that's always the goal if you're going to step on stage and do something. But for me, it's like, I'm just like, man, if I'm going to turn 30, I would love to enter my 30s the same way I entered my 20s. Like, I remember turning 21 and taking a post and being like in great shape. But I would love to walk into my 30s, like best shape of my life, way better mindset, just like Hubble V2. You know what I mean?
Let's go.
Upkeep.
So there's like 3 months. I'm like, man, 3 months, that's like a pretty good amount of time. It's a good amount of time, but it'll go like lightning.
Oh yeah.
So it's just
like show day and you'd be like, whoa, we just
exactly. And it's not just about the show. It's just like sometimes it's helpful for me to have something on the, like something to work towards. You know what I mean? It's just like when you have a vacation planned, you're just like, it's easier to work because you're like, there's something I'm looking forward to.
Right.
So
that is true.
For me, I just put it out there because it just the timeline so happened to be perfect, and I think there's it could be a great trip for everyone to go down to, and some of the other projects we've kind of been considering. But all that to say that when I think about now having you guys here and saying like, how can we tell this story better? It's like all the time people don't really understand what it is that we do, and it's because we do so much different stuff. I think it's hard to really grasp it unless you're here. So, I want more people to get a more cohesive look at what we do on day to day.
Like raw,
but like raw in a way where it's not overly manufactured and like overly edited or trying to follow the hype. Like me and David talked about this. Like we were talking about how like, this person, it's so easy to look at other people's kind of like, oh, this person does this. It's like, you can take and glean inspiration from other people, but I think it's like a lot of people have to do that type of stuff because inherently what they're doing isn't that interesting. So they need to like put all the bells and whistles on it to make it interesting. Where we were talking about like what we're doing here is interesting. It is unique. Right. There's no one else in the world that is doing what we're doing here. There's no one else that's a group of people that around this age that we're aware of that like are doing the type of shit that, Phil's working on, that we're creating here. I think it's something that people would be interested in, Yeah. So it's like, I don't think we need all the bells and whistles. We just need to do a better job articulating this story and being consistent to where we can really dial it in. And that's what I'm excited to do.
It's kind of like movies, basically. Like, look at how music videos are, like insane, all this stuff to boost up the music itself. And when you look at movies, like clean cut, looks good. Simple.
Good film, a good story doesn't need a whole lot.
Exactly.
It's just a story and the quality of the characters that are there. And that's what we have. We have quality characters in this building. Everyone in here, I think what I'm excited about is that everyone in here shares the same values, the same principles, which is why it's a small group, but we all mesh really well together. But we all have different interests and all have different things that are pushing us forward. And we also all have things that we're working through, in our own life, whether it's our fitness, our level of fitness, or, you know, mindset, or, you know, whatever aspect of it, you know, we all have different things that are things that we are specifically focusing on, maybe more than someone else in this building. And so it's like being in a community of people that hold space for that is also really pivotal. And I think that that's just the message that I want to convey, because like for me, it's been transformative being here and being in this environment. And like, I want other people to, you know, not only have that opportunity, but also just see that play out in real time, because it's hard for people, like if they're in a bad spot, to want to take that first step. But like kind of seeing the journey and being able to follow someone. It's the same way we resonate with creators that we followed for years. It's like, man, I've seen them come up, you know? So
it always takes that start. That snowball effect is crazy.
I think what we need to figure out is how do we convey this long format piece. Me and David talked about this last night a little bit, but it's like, you know, it's so simple to do short form. It's really easy to get caught up doing short form, but
the long form is really where you build.
The long form is where you build that community, and I think you understand this, especially Jake, because you've got, you know, the biggest following out of all of us. But it's like some of those people are just followers, and some of those people are real fans. Mm-hmm. And it's like the people in that chat that you have.
We want
like
the actual community.
And I think the long form is where you really capture longtime fans. The short content's great for building an audience, but like,
you know, the vanity numbers.
Yeah, there's no rush to a place there's no use in rushing to a place that you want to stay. You know, so it's like we could swing for a viral post, and I'm sure we could accomplish it because we're all talented and we can play that game. But I think that that's short-sighted in the sense that you know, it's like what I'm experiencing. My page has 14K followers on it, but like none of them are active. None of them engage. So it's like, what's the point?
I think I would rather have a page with 10,000 active and 100 comments a post of people who are always there than 100,000 and 10 comments. Because a lot of the times, like followers, either they're not engaged, they're not actually there for you, or like you
right, no,
that's a little growth spurt. We're gonna walk. Jay's like, what? Jay wakes up, his feet are like hanging over the couch. He's like, oh, just like becomes a giant.
Dude, if I could wake up with some double D's, I'll be happy.
Double D's. But yeah, needless to say, I think, you know, not to veer away from the topic of the podcast, which is like an open planning session. I think like we need to dial in on the long format, because it'll be easy for us to get carried away with short form stuff. But I think once we have a really good long form content format that we like and that we can, you know, consistently do and replicate, that, you know, I think that then guides what the short form can be. Right?
Yeah, of course.
Because right now, if you do it the opposite way, right, you're building short form to do something long form. It just like you're changing too many variables, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's the same thing with nutrition. It's like the reason Brooks wants me to eat this boring meal plan, it's not that like macro counting doesn't work necessarily. It's just that like if we're actually going to prep and we get into it and a challenge arises where we're stuck and I'm eating all different kinds of shit, then we don't really know what variable does what. We just have to continue guessing and we can't be optimal. Mm-hmm. When you're when you have that structure, it allows you to be able to like hyper analyze specific variables and be really rapidly testing stuff. It's the same thing with marketing, right? It's like they call it split testing a lot, because like you want to be able to take one variable out and see the effect of it, and then maybe you put it back in, you take another one out, and you just continue doing that until you know, are able to continue creating that linear progression that we all strive for. So I think it's no different for content, right? So I think we might not see as quick results with the long form, especially when it's longer and it's more intimate and it's not as sexy and exciting, but we'll build those real fans. And I think we have enough sexy pieces like the planes and the cars and the houses and the sex appeal of some of the stuff that we're just working on here that will hopefully, you know, kind of capture attention in a way where people are interested to take a deeper look.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the long format, I think it's coming up with, you know, something that we put out each week. But I think what David and I are talking about is kind of not being in a rush to like keep it in real time. You know, I think that's where people get really burnt out, is they do like a vlog, but then they pin themselves like multiple videos a week that they're like, oh, I have to create something for us to do for this to be like a valid video. Whereas like if there's enough stuff in like a week's time and there's so many different people here that I think if we capture footage for a week or even a week and a half, and then we sit down and we decide what this is going to be, it will then be easier to be like a few weeks behind in terms of how we share that story with the world. But it'll be way more impactful.
It's way more valuable too. When you cram one day into one video, it's one day. If you cram a week to a week and a half in one video, it's like there's always something going on.
Yeah, well, we just never. The thing is, and you guys will find this, like things change so rapidly in here. Decisions are made so rapidly. You know, we're very quick in doing stuff. Deal happens. Like, I mean, even when the last plane purchase happened, it was just like within a few days that we were like, okay, we're going to go to Wilmington. We're going to do this thing. We're going to go to get the plane. Like, it's just like happened in a day where like, you know, if something hadn't gone right the day before, we wouldn't have even done that trip that day. So it's just like, you know, when we give ourselves that time, I think we'll be able to tell the story better because things change so quickly that if we try to tell a story and encapsulate it to the day, it would just be like, oh yeah, well, we changed from yesterday to today. So now what that video we made feels kind of like maybe not as valid or not as even relevant to what we're actually doing.
Yeah, that literally just happened in Jay's vlog. Like,
we were the boat thing, right?
Yeah, we're gonna get on the boat tomorrow.
And then it rained. No boat. Like, So I think that's the plan. Is like maybe we film for a week and a half, and I think what we really need to do as a team in terms of thinking about the building beyond just the three of us in the future is thinking like, how do we start staying organized and structured in a way with all this footage that we're capturing where like even the way we were thinking like, man, maybe we can reach out to Caleb, who's Alex Ramosi's, you know, main guy and learn stuff. It's like, we could, but the things that work for them probably wouldn't work for us. We could probably learn some tips, but it's at the end of the day, it's just a constant iteration. It's like the way that we work out in the morning. It's a constant iteration of starting and committing to being okay with failing at first, and then being like, oh, okay, this didn't work. Let's try it this way, until we have this very proprietary thing that works for us that we can, you know, teach other people that come into our world. Yeah. Because it'll work for us, you know? So it's like right now I have that 14 terabyte hard drive down there. I'm like, I don't feel like this is the end all be all of game plans, but like for right now, maybe this will work. You know, I'm sure maybe we'll be kicking ourselves a few months from now because like, damn, all this stuff's on here. But, you know, needless to say, I think that as like finding a good strategy for like indexing this footage and knowing what it is and where it is, you know, we need to get really organized and structured with our time in terms of like how we catalog that footage in there. You know, is it by camera angle? Is it by who shot it? Is it by, really, you know, I think those are all the things where we need to get like consistent.
Subfolders are where it's at. Like, this is this angle from this day. This is this angle, like all that. That's
because data management is like the main. Yeah. I mean, anyone that edits video knows like long-term file management is like the biggest pain in the ass and most challenging thing because it's just not only do files change and do like cameras change, but like systems change, software changes, the things. I mean, I was telling you, I used to drive to Asheville once a week from Raleigh to go pick up a hard drive because there was no like cloud computing or big drives that you could just dump footage on and fast internet speeds at like 5G and just,
this guy's old.
All this shit. So.
This guy's old.
Yeah, it doesn't feel that long ago, but it wasn't that long. I mean, think about like even just a few years ago, you said those lacy drives. Now it's like the Samsung T5. And it's like a year from now, that thing might feel too big and slow, and you know,
it definitely probably will.
Too small of a storage. I mean, buying these memory cards that are these cameras right now, I'm like, I remember when a 128 gigabyte memory card was like, you're like, do I really need the 128? I get away with the 32. Now it's like I need like 256 minimum.
Yeah,
dog. Or we're not
because we shoot almost 200 a day. Like that one weekend that we were here. That we did the church shoot and then we did the shooting with you guys.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
We filled up like 2 cards.
I don't doubt it. So that being said, I think, you know, the plan is long-term format. I don't know if we would call it a vlog. I think Tim had a really good idea of like, this should just be a season. It's like we're coming into like spring, summer. And like, I don't know, for me in my own life, I've probably said this in other podcast formats or long-term things before, but I'm like, summer is always just like a get shit done time for me. Like somehow things just speed up during summer. Like every year, I end up in great shape. I end up like making strides in whatever business endeavor or project I'm working on. The music last year was great. So I'm just like, man, summer I just look forward to every year. So
it's your time.
Feels weird when I'm like, I want to stack all these big challenges at once, but I'm like, that's just how I work best. I need a lot of shit going on.
I like it.
So
I'm low-key the same way though. I mean, summer's gonna be a time to shine, but having all those big projects is really going to stack up for you.
Yeah, I mean, over the next few months here, I know for a fact it's like the Largo project's getting done. That's just going to be like a really amazing feeling. I know it'll be amazing for Phil. It'll be even amazing for me and other people that have been a part of just watching it transform into what it's become. For anyone listening, the Largo project is Phil's house that he's been building for almost a year now, maybe longer. And it's just like one of the craziest homes you'll ever see. We're going to go there in a little bit, so Jay will get to see it for the first time.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
But like you'll remember, David, we walked through when they just put the drywall up, I think, or maybe even not even drywall.
Yeah, that was some
like that was like 8 months ago, 6 months ago. Yeah. So, but like the plane stuff, you know, there's some other purchases Phil's made that are going to be cool to document. Yeah.
Anything.
You know,
car stuff, plane stuff.
Just the innovation of this place. Like we got the turf going in today with the branding on it. It's just like, those are the small things where it's like you walk into this space now and it's really cool, but it's just like, and you know Phil and you know like the stuff he's done. You're like, oh, this ain't nearly ready to be, this is nowhere near close to being done.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
all those little details add up though.
Oh, all those details add up, and
like
they all.
Everything
but like it's just transient. When you're here, it's like you just you see it, and you don't really recognize it as being substantial. And then you walk back in. Like if I were to go away for like a month and come back, like walk in, be like, oh damn, this is like really different than when we first walked in these doors. Just the gym alone, just the gym equipment alone. So yeah, I mean, with that being said, sounds like we have a good idea of the long format. I think doing like a 10 to 12 minute video a week. I don't think it should be too long, and then focusing on shorts for YouTube and really building an audience there. And then, you know, obviously repurposing those shorts for other platforms.
Yep.
Mixing pictures in. I think like we have some really interesting aspects of what we do here. I mean, even just Haley and Tim, and they have their podcast, and it's just like we have all these really cool people that all share really similar values, and we're all in here working together and also on different things and some of the same things, but we all bring these different elements of personality to the table where it allows people to connect, more people to connect to what we're doing. And I think, you know, when we first started the Since I Was Broke kind of podcast and just we came up with that idea, I'll be honest, it didn't really resonate with me. I was like, I don't want it to feel like I'm not broke. I mean, I'm not broke, but it's like, I'm not where I would like to be, you know, financially or like success wise or whatever. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I didn't really resonate. And then I realized I kind of like flipped it on its head, and I was like, no, like this is the story of that, you know, maybe. And for everyone in here, maybe that feels different. Right. Like for me, when I think of like Since I Was Broke, I want people to realize like I've had this mindset and I've had this energy since I was broke, no matter how far I make it. And I think that maybe that's probably how Phil feels too. It's just like no one in here is switched up. You know, this is the same team, the same people. You know, we're all about working with our friends. People say you can't work with your friends. I mean, you look at the core team here, it's like you guys are my friends. Some of the head guys that you guys met yesterday, Rob and Franco, those are Phil's long-term friends. So it's just like that's bullshit. If you are open, if you build an environment where there's radical, you know, candor, and people feel like there's space help for them to share how they feel, and you're dedicated to like rising up together. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what I want people to see through the short form, through the pages. I think that's what this brand is all about. It's about, even at your brokest point, you know, whether it's mentally, physically, financially, having like this mentality that like the world's your oyster, and not switching up on that. And I think that's ultimately what we want to represent through our visuals, whether it's video, photo, audio. I think that's the feeling that we want people to walk away with. I think that's the reason that, you know, why would people follow along? It's like, because the energy is just infectious.
Oh, yeah, that positive energy. There's enough negative out there as is.
Yeah.
But bringing that community and letting people know what they can do, and kind of just sharing everything that we've accomplished with the mindset that we have and that we all share. Mm-hmm. Not too many people have that community feeling, but a lot of people watch content creators like yourself and I and David for that feeling, to get that feeling. And with it being shared, or like you said, with that feeling being so contagious, giving that off, people are going to follow along, and people are going to adopt that mindset and everything that we portray. So,
yeah, and I think like we're already doing all the right things. It's just about structuring it a little bit more. Because I mean, what I've always held as my belief is like if you're creating video content, audio content, and written content, it's like that those are all the ways that humans consume information of any sort. So it's like if we're doing all of those, then we're giving people the highest likelihood of being able to connect with what we're doing. Some people like watching stuff. Some people like listening. Some people like reading.
You know, everybody accepts differently.
Yeah, so it's like even taking all of this through, it's like maybe we can take this podcast or take our podcast episodes, you know, utilize some of these tools that are available like AI and start having some blog posts or start working on like, you know, some kind of written project that can go along with this whole brand. It's a journal or maybe it's something
the
that we
broadcast
believe
channels are great for that, for reaching lots of people at one time. Yeah,
broadcast channel would be a great place to do that. See, so I got
that you have YouTube. They have the community is literally called Jesus. It is literally called. It's called the community section, and it's for pictures. You can share videos. You can do the posts like word, text posts. You can do carousels, everything. It's literally called the community feed specifically so that you can actually communicate outside the comment section of your YouTube videos.
Yeah. So what do you guys think we need to do? I think it's like we all know what we need to do and we know how to do it. It's a matter of like, how do we do it at scale consistently? I think that's where we need to figure out, is it a software piece that we utilize to stay organized and have project stuff out and know like what's already ready to post? And could use that probably. Sure.
I mean, 100% organization's everything. Like we could be doing everything right. If we start missing pieces and things start going left and right, it's going to be horrible.
I mean, he's absolutely amazing with, like you said, data upkeep and kind of, what is the word I'm looking for? He's really good with organizing, knowing where things at. He can click through 20 different file paths to find one file from 10 months ago.
It's just staying organized. Where it's at. Well, I used to not be that guy. And I saw how that where that brought me
to be that guy.
Yeah. I saw where that brought me, and I lost files, and clients are pissed and all. I'm like, okay, this can't happen anymore. Let's get organized. So I think staying organized is really it.
Yeah, like I think planning too. It's organizing, but planning is what I'm getting at. Of like, you know, we've got to use a tool to stay on top of our posts of like, this is what's going up this week. This is what's going up next week. You know, I think we should have. There's going to be some stuff that it's like it gets up. We put it up as it's created a little bit, but I think like pictures and reels and like the mindset stuff. I mean, we've got a backlog of podcasts and stuff where it's like stuff that we can use to continue staying on people's feeds as we're growing. Because I think even if my own profile I'm seeing, it's like it's so easy to get in your own head and be like, oh, people don't want to see more of me, and it's like half the people didn't see it. It's got 30 likes. Like, just keep posting. Keep going. You know, it's like no one's even seen it.
Yeah,
and the people that do, they get annoyed. It's like, screw it. They're like, this is important for me to get to grow the audience. Like I need, you know, I had to shift my mindset around it and not worry about who is following me already and who might leave, but like who am I not capturing by overthinking this?
Well, Jay brought me into the mindset of like, your audience is either going to go or stay. It's about capturing those new people. Like it's not about who you already have. Like if your message isn't portraying with who you already have, that's fine. We want those new people that the message portrays to now.
Right. Yeah. And some people lose hold of your old message. We're going to develop new mindsets. We're going to develop new things that we prioritize in our life. So regardless of the people that we do have, we have to keep moving forward. And if the people around you don't accept you moving forward, then, I mean, like we talked about in the last podcast, people are going to fall off, but we have to keep progressing. And if it is bettering each of our lives together, we might as well do that because it's for the betterment of everybody at that point.
Yeah, no, I agree.
We can't be worried about what somebody doesn't like because we're getting better.
Yeah. So I think our main focuses are developing everyone in here should be elevating their personal brand. We all need to do a better job of kind of pointing backlinking, if you will. It's old terminology from like website days. But
could you elaborate?
Backlinking, just like, you know, a lot of times if you wanted to build your reputation on a website, you want to try and develop backlinks, like other websites that like have your URL somewhere in, like maybe their blog or something.
Gotcha.
But long story short, it's like you're pointing back to SIWB, you know, the Since I Was Broke pages and stuff
everything
like that. Yeah,
like,
you know, like promoting this page more as like, this is our community page. If you want to get into our world, it starts there.
I think it could be a very, I want to say it could be massive. Obviously, all of us could have, you know, 100,000 followers, and then we are all connected and collaborating with that page. That could be at 1 million followers, and then we have everybody from everybody's different subcategories. You have music, he has videography, I have fitness. Everybody has different things, but we could all share, and we all love those ideas. We all love the SIWB lifestyle at the end of the day.
I mean, people follow you because they like
They like your personality.
30 million people do the same fitness thing that you do, right? But they follow you because it's you. They follow your music because it's you. They follow the videography because it's
well,
me.
there's some people, right? And that's where the cross promotion is so impactful is because like there's a cross section of people in your audience that have never seen me that also are into lifting.
They like
and
you
music,
and your personality.
right? Yeah. So it's just like the more you collaborate, I think the more it opens those doors up.
Yeah.
I think like that's another reason why I really like and I want to do summer shredding and go and bring everyone down there and do that as a team is because I'm like that. I think they do a really good job of cultivating that community and then bringing that over to their brands. So like we have ideas of, really developing out other types of products and things that we use and that we're into that, that page can be great for being able to make sure people know we're working on that stuff. And then the teams grow and that a lot of times, so we met through social media. It's like social media is a great way to incubate people and also like even virtually allow them to identify to a point where it's like they come into the world. Like when you first came here, it's like you probably felt like you already knew us a little bit because of the fact that you just like could see some of the stuff that we were working on. So you're not going in blind like a regular job. Like if you're starting at a regular job, right? You have no idea anything about these people, anything. Like you can look us up and kind of get the vibe. You can tell Phil's a little brash and bold. That that I have a loose lips too and say what's on my mind, and you can get a vibe for the energy that's here, right? Just through social. So I think we just need to do more of that, elevate it, keep refining it, keep dialing it in. It's just little things, right? Like adding the lights behind us, the stuff that where it's like when you have more people, you can just go that extra mile. So I think that's the stuff that's going to really pay dividends.
Yeah.
I think final thoughts. We have a good idea of our long format. We're going to be shooting a week to 2 weeks at a time, then making something out of that, and then distilling that into the short form, maybe dictating some conversations and stuff from what goes on in those weeks. So this will be a first test of like having that mindset of like we're going to create like a weekly vlog or a weekly movie about what happened that week or like what's the main stuff that we're working on, and then tell that.
I think that sounds dope. I always tell my followers like, your life is a movie and you get to dictate how it goes. If you were to watch a movie and you were sitting in your room, playing a video game, doing that shit, you wouldn't want to watch that movie. 100%. So go out and make a movie that you would want to watch and, enjoy that shit.
I said we end it right there. That's perfect.
Let's go.
Alrighty, y'all. Make sure that you're subscribing, doing whatever you can. If there's something around wherever you're listening to this or watching to it, follow along. You're not going to miss the journey. We got a crazy team here.
It's going to be crazy.
If you keep along, like, the team's always growing. Just a few weeks ago, I wouldn't have expected you guys were here full time, like on staff, moving to Charlotte. So I was like I said, we make moves, and we like people that make moves. So follow along the journey, whatever platform you're consuming this on, and like as we continue doing stuff, if it resonates with you, like you could be in this room, like
let's go,
maybe chopping it up with us and working on the same stuff. So if it resonates, follow along, show love, show support. It always baffles me that like I had this person reach out, no shade to him, like I'm still happy to answer and help out, but it just like makes me think sometimes, I'm a big pontificator. And it's like someone reached out in a DM and they're like, hey, like I'm an artist, local, I would love to like learn from you. I'm like, bro, I've never seen you like my post, never seen you
just want
go in a question box, never seen you engage. I'm just like, so like I'm happy to help, but like did you even look at my page? Like maybe there's something that you could have already learned. So like when I just feel like when I reach out to people, like I remember I edited, there's that artist Mike. I'm a big fan of Mike. He used to be called Mike Stud. It's just Mike Dot now if you look him up. And it's like huge fan of this guy. Consume his information. I'm subscribed to like his paid thing. And it's like I just remember one day on his story, he just like had a story. It might have even been just like a repost, but I was like, this dude's editing his own podcast, and he was doing it the old way, like So I'm like, I just reached out. I'm like, hey, can I just cut this up in a short form for you? Just send me the files. Send me the files. I did it a few times, but it's like, it's like reach out with some context. Like, if you're gonna reach out to someone, like, and you really want to establish a relationship, and you're not just looking for a handout or looking to like take advantage of someone, like, you should have context of like what the fuck it is that they're working on, and you should approach them in a way where they're like, oh, this person gives a shit enough to like have done their research and have context and like ask me a really pointed thing that's gonna actually like I actually want to capitalize on. If I just reached out and I was like, love this stuff, man, let me know if I can help you.
Let me get in on it.
They're like, I don't know anything about you or how you can help.
I sadly know exactly how it is, and I'm like,
sure you
I'm
do.
not gonna say no names,
Yeah.
but like we'll be in the gym and people will want to shoot with us or do certain things with us, and it's like, this is my boy. I'm in the gym with him, and they don't say shit to him. They see me.
Yeah.
They want to do something with me. and I
Meanwhile,
already
this
know what
motherfucker
fuck
with the
you want.
camera. Like, this
Right.
is like, you guys, the people miss that so much. You're just like,
And it's ridiculous to me. It's like, if you want to get with me, you're gonna have to cultivate a relationship with the people around me to begin with.
yeah, if you want to be my lover, you got to get with my friends.
Right? Like, come on now.
Do you know that song?
That's not how it works. Like,
Yeah,
you're
no,
just
That
not
was an
gonna get
old
in
song.
like
I
that.
don't know if you guys would have heard that one. You know,
Couple times.
got to get with my friends.
You know, Chicken Little,
That's
bro.
actually kind of
Chicken Little.
Actually, like, wait, you really think about that? It's
Yeah,
like, if you
when
want
you
to be
said
my
that, I
lover,
was
you
like-
got to get with my friend. Is that? Those are the lyrics, I'm pretty sure. But like that, now that I think about it,
I don't
that's
think people thought like that back then.
I don't like the song too much. Honestly.
yeah. I don't know if I want my lover to get with all my friends first. That's
No,
a little
no.
ass
You can put that
backwards.
in whatever context you want.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess.
Anyway, all right, let's wrap it up and start posting some content.
Let's do it. Don't miss out, guys. Do not
Don't
miss out.
Yeah. All right. Peace out. Bye.
Peace.